So we get a lot of questions about which kettlebell you should buy first, how many kettlebells you could buy, what colour, what kind, why do you use kettlebells at all in the first place? Let's get into it. So we use kettlebells, we also use rocks, we use stuff that you find around. We do use some dumbbells. I have a preference for kettlebells because I think that they're more varied. I think you can do more stuff with them. So bang for buck, I think they're better than a dumbbell. This is definitely a personal preference that Andrew and I have kind of worked out over the years, but there will be a dumbbell crowd out there. If dumbbells are your thing, I've got nothing against you or your dumbbells. But we like kettlebells because they're kind of weird shaped. You can do a lot with them. And when you're starting out, you don't need to buy loads and loads and loads. We're never going to advocate that you spend loads of money from the get-go on kit, but it is nice to have a couple of kettlebells. And as ever, how many you buy or what you buy completely depends on your goals and what you're hoping to get out of this new world. If, let's say, you're a woman in your kind of roughly my age, in your 40s or late 30s or 50s, and you're wanting to build muscle mass and bone density and get in some explosive power training, then kettlebells are really nice. They're also really good for rehab. So I'm going to assume from this video, because you're watching it, that you're roughly in my demographic and that your goals are roughly the same goals as mine, which is building muscle mass and bone density, a bit of skill training, a bit of explosive power training. That's what I'm assuming when I'm suggesting what I'm about to suggest. If your why and your goals are totally different, then don't listen to anything I've got to say, because really it's up to you. I'm going to say that if you're not starting a big business, you just want to start with you and a couple of friends, I'm going to suggest that you need one light kettlebell and one bit heavier kettlebell, because you can get so much done with those two weights. And now again, if you're sort of in my size and you're a woman, then I'm going to suggest, we would suggest starting with an 8 and a 12. I'm going to say they're the only two that you need for the first couple of months. Now, if you're just getting started and the idea of getting an 8 kg kettlebell over your head feels really, really daunting, I totally get it, that's fine, but I'm not going to suggest that you buy a 6 or a 4, because I don't think that you'll be on that stage for very long. And we would normally find that with most of our members, just introducing them to the movement with something that is a bit heavy, like you could do like a light weight plate or a brick, or really whatever you've got lying around. If you're teaching a strict press or a push press, most people will be able to do an 8. Granted, they might have had, unless they've had a massive shoulder injury or some other huge impingement, most adults that should be able to get an 8 over their head. Doesn't mean that they will be able to when you first start going over the movements, and neither you might also not be able to get an 8 over your head. But the barrier is probably, and again, not always, and I don't know your individual case, but the barrier is probably not strength, the barrier is probably confidence, because having something heavy over your head when you first start is kind of terrifying, because you just don't do it very much. So long story short, don't think it's worth investing in anything lighter than an 8, not because you need something. If you need something lighter, I would just use something you've got lying around, which could be a brick or a log, or anything that's just got a bit of feedback, a bit of weight to it. Teach yourself the movement pattern, and then I think normally you'll be able to get onto an 8 pretty quickly. And then once you've got that, you start climbing pretty quick until you kind of plateau again. So with your 8, you can go into your strict presses, you can go into your push presses pretty nicely. They're also really nice for when you're getting into get downs, those half kneeling windmills, your Turkish get-ups, They're really nice because they give you a bit of feedback. It's a really nice place to start. They're not too heavy. They're good as well because you can get into bottoms up work. Really nice movements. Again, they're not too heavy and they'll kind of keep that movement pattern really accessible to you. But as soon as you've got most of the main movements for your upper body, you'll be able to progress quite quickly to the 12, and you'll surprise yourself. Everybody surprised themselves on this. For your 12, you can start on all of the things like your kettlebell swings. Really nice. You can do one arm swings. You can do cleans, clean and press eventually. You can do snatches. You know, whole loads of things, and then you can go into all of the get downs and everything that you were doing with the 8. You'll be able to progress pretty quickly. The only thing that you're going to be lacking if you've just bought these 2 weights is they're not mega heavy. So you've got these massive muscles in the bottom of your body, and once you familiarise yourself with the movement pattern, you can actually carry pretty heavy. Like, this is much lighter than your airport check-in, which I think is 23 kg. So here are a few ideas of how to increase the weight without having to spend more money. You can then go on and buy a 20 kg kettlebell, that's fine. So there are a few things that you're going to want to really ramp up that weight, right? You want your suitcase carries. So you're not going to be able to do them really effectively with a 12 because it's just not very heavy. But suddenly that's pretty heavy. And also you've got a different grip strength factor here as well with the towel. So you can get some really nice carries in. You could also use this for any of the Jefferson curls. Just imagine I'm standing on a platform here because I haven't got one. And you could use that like that. That would be kind of heavy enough for that. You can also get into dual kettlebell work, which is really nice too. And we really like the offset dual kettlebell work because it's super challenging. So once you've kind of got to grips with the 12 and the 8 and you feel like you've kind of got your squats and your lunges and stuff, you can start adding both at the same time. So you can do sort of double kneeling get downs. It's really nice. Obviously I've got a 12 on one side and an 8 on the other. You can switch and kind of change in between sets and reps. That's all really nice. And you can do your squats here as well. Then you can do one up and one down. You could do carries out and back. If you wanted to do carries and make it more difficult, you could do it on a 12. Comme ça. Pretty good. If you want to make it more difficult again, you could do bottoms up. Ooh, up here or up here. That's fine. Oh, you could march. Oh, that's very hard. Anyway, there's a bunch of ways you can do it that you can really increase the weight without having to spend loads of money. But start with an 8 and a 12 if you are a woman. If you are a man, I would add 20% to those weights. And then let's say after 3 or 4 months of using them consistently, maybe it's time to eke on up. My working weight at the moment is somewhere, well, sometimes I'm on a 16 or I'm on a 20. If I had an 8, a 12, a 16 and a 20, it'd be pretty golden, I think. Good luck.